You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. What an honor it is today to have with us Ben Crump, nationally recognized trial lawyer for justice, specializing in civil rights, catastrophic personal injury cases, such as wrongful death lawsuits. Thank you so much for your time and being here, Ben.
Hey, the honor is mine, Ben, and thank you for having Lawyer Stories to continue to inspire our brothers and sisters in the bar to go out and zealously represent those who don't have a voice, who are often marginalized and disenfranchised and victimized. I cannot thank you enough when I look on the social media and I see the Lawyer Stories and I say, hey, that's another good one. It helps us keep our fuel lit so we can go fight the next fight.
Thanks, and I really appreciate you connecting with me. I think I look back and we featured you actually January 1st, 2018. And so I actually wanted to thank you on behalf of the brand that I'm trying to grow and building the community. I'm all about community. So I wanted to say thank you because I know you have a big platform and I've watched it grow too over the past few years, and the stuff that you're doing for the world and America is just incredible. The zealous advocacy. So, thank you very much for everything.
Yes, sir.
And thank you also. I want to congratulate you for being Time 100 most influential people in the world. That's incredible. So,
yeah, my mother, who is very religious, and you may know some Black Baptist women. My mother is telling everybody who would listen, "Don't tell me what God can't do. Won't He do it?" Yeah. So I have to say that for my mama. Won't He do it? You don't know how God is going to use you as you take on these cases. And I'll say this to you, Ben, as Martin Luther King said, we all have a role to play in the struggle for equality and justice. And so what you're doing, brother, it's important.
Thank you.
Keep having lawyers tell their stories. It's very important.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate that. So I just want to know, from the beginning, North Carolina, growing up there, tell us a little bit about your story, Ben, before we get into, I know you're doing so many things. Obviously, we can't cover everything that you've done, but let's hear about your story a little bit, growing up back in North Carolina, all the way through Florida State.
Absolutely, Ben. And, when I go back to North Carolina, we just talked about my mother a little bit. My mother raised me and my two little brothers as a single parent. And everything I am and everything I am to be is largely due in part to her sacrifices. She worked 2 jobs, cleaning hotel rooms and laundry in the morning, and then she would go work at the Converse shoe factory, second shift, yep, all maintaining a way to keep a roof over our head and to keep food on the table and to keep hope in our hearts. And so that was my beginning. And my mother would always tell us, it's not where you start at in life, it's where you finish. And she sacrificed so much for us.
Yeah.
And so I'm eternally grateful to Helen Crump.
And you also mentioned in your lawyer story back in 2018 that your mother told you about the very important case of Brown versus Board of Education, a 1954 case that overturned Plessy versus Ferguson, I believe. And she told you about that and Thurgood Marshall, who became one of your inspirations, correct? So she would.
Yeah, you got a good memory, Ben. Thurgood Marshall is my personal hero. He's my North Star.
Yep.
And it started when I was in the 4th grade, 9 years old. With all deliberate speed, the Supreme Court decree from Brown versus Board didn't happen in my little small town in rural North Carolina until 1979. And so what happened, they bused us little Black children from the South Side over to the white section of town across the tracks. And we went to school with little white children, and they had new buildings, new facilities, new technology, new books, new everything.
Right.
And so I remember distinctly when I decided I was going to be a lawyer, because I was on the school bus and we were coming back home across the railroad tracks, and we got back to the South Side, the Black section of town where we lived. And I just remember observing all the dilapidated buildings. I saw my old little elementary school with the lead paint, and I remember the raggedy books, and I saw all the broken down cars. And I kept thinking, Ben, I wonder why it is that certain people on a certain part of town have it so good.
Yeah.
And on my side of town have it so challenging.
Right.
And I remember my mother and my teacher saying, we got to go to the new school with the new facilities and everything because of Brown versus the Board of Education and Attorney Thurgood Marshall.
Yep.
And that's what I made up in my mind, that when I grow up, I'm going to be like Thurgood Marshall, and I'm going to fight for people who live in my community and people who look like me to have a better chance at achieving the American dream. And from that day to this one, that's what I endeavor to do every day I wake up.
I love that. And you executed on your dream and you followed it and you let nothing get in your way. It's just kind of shocking to me that that was still going on in like 1979. When you say 79, it's like, wow, like that's, I don't know. It seems ancient for some people, but I was like 1 year old, and it's like, I just can't believe that. But so, and I think in law school, you got to Florida State, you went undergrad there, you're Knoll, and then to Florida State Law School, School of Law. And you looked around, right? You were there and you were with a friend. And I think like the same sort of, you were like, okay, well, we need to stick together. You had like a situation there that I sort of read about that I thought was interesting.
Yeah, Darryl Parks, who is one of my best friends and was my law 20 years. We got a similar situation to me, being raised by a single mother in Central Florida and the Orange Groves. And Darryl and I looked around, people were starting to get laptops and everything. Everybody has them now, but then, just becoming the thing to have in class. And Darryl and I looked around and we said, hey man, we the poorest people here in the law school. We got to look out for one another.
That's right.
And that friendship grew, and it grew so much that when we graduated law school, we knew we wanted to go out and help our community. And we figured nobody would let us do that with serving Black communities like we wanted to do it. So we did something crazy, Ben, something I don't advise to anybody. They say ignorance is bliss. We went and we turned down all our job offers and we hung up our own shingle and we started doing law, the things we believed in. They say God looks out for babies and fools. At times, we were not babies. So thank God he looked out for us, where we got real successful real quick fighting for our community.
And the work that you do is super important. And I think a lot of people go to law school like saying, I want to do constitutional law, or I want to do civil rights, or something that's sort of like really impactful. Like, do you have advice for somebody who wants to sort of like help you in the fight that you've taken on?
Yes. Ben, I think that everybody has a role to, and you can do good in life by doing work that helps people and also do well. And I get it. Everybody's not supposed to be on the front lines with me and Reverend Al Sharpton and Black Lives Matter, but everybody has a role to play. You have to go take a big corporate defense firm, then by all means do that. However, don't ever forget that you've been blessed with this legal education and this law degree to try to help those who are less fortunate than you. So go take on those pro bono death row cases or wrongful conviction. Or go take on mentoring a person, don't look anything like you, don't come from your background, who wants to be an attorney, and you will be amazed at how much you're going to learn from them and how much you will gain from that relationship, because you think it's all about helping them, where a lot of it, they will be helping you to be able to feel good about yourself and what you aspire to be as an attorney.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I think some people do need jobs where they feel good about what they do. And, you know, some people can do things where it's just sort of a job, but I think it's important, like what you do. It's, you know, incredible. But it is nice to feel good, like you're making an impact on people's lives. So do you think that, you know, we sort of connected on social media. Do you think, you know, you've covered and you've advocated all these cases. Do you think we know about a lot of them because of social media? Like if social media was here like 15 years ago, as prevalent as it is now, like it would be, you know, we'd be able to catch some of these things that are happening out there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, you know, Representative George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, and so many others, Andre Hill, Jacob Blake Jr., all captured on video, and their stories went viral on social media. Pamela Turner and so many who were killed senselessly and unnecessarily by the very people who are supposed to protect and serve them. And having videos matter, being able to have social media matter. People often ask me, Ben, what is the difference between Rodney King in 1984 being brutalized by police and George Floyd in 2020? And my answer is always straightforward. The quality of the video on the Apple iPhone is better now than the video that recorded Rodney King, because the abuse and the injustice has always been there. It's just that we didn't get to see it. That's what has helped so much because of social media. These videos go viral and people see that Black and brown people aren't exaggerating and lying when we say the police are brutalizing us and all these things.
And it's pretty wild too, because Rodney King was such a big deal, whereas now it seems like it's happening left and right. And the difference is everybody's got a phone, and it's almost like instead of somebody going in to try to like stop it, they stop and they video it. So I don't know if that's good or bad, you know what I mean?
No, I think it's good. I absolutely think it's good, because if a Black person goes, or anybody goes and try to intervene when police are doing something excessive, they may end up killing you. So we want documentation so we can hopefully use it as a teachable moment. Because I pray every day, Ben, I pray every day that the police brutality and excessive force division of my law firm can be closed down. People don't understand that's only one small aspect of my law firm. We do all this mass tort, class action, environmental injustice litigation, banking discrimination litigation, and that's what is the aspects of my law firm. But the thing that gets all the attention are these high-profile police killings.
Yeah, no, of course. So like, when was it that you realized that, like, you know, you were out there and like taking on these high-profile cases? Like, when did you realize, wow, like I'm like a national figure, like I'm really influential? Like, what was there a certain case that sort of like it kind of dawned on you that like that's the way your career is gonna be, really?
Well, as I said, Thurgood Marshall is the person I always chose to try to model my life after. And Justice Marshall understood that he didn't take cases that would just impact that individual or their family. He took cases that would have a larger impact on greater society, because he really was trying to fight against this implicit bias, this discrimination, this racism, this sickness that was hurting our society and killing Black people. And so it, you know, Trayvon obviously was big, and it's hard to imagine, Ben.
Yeah.
In February, it'll be 10 years
Yeah.
since
Yeah.
Trayvon Martin was killed by a neighborhood watch volunteer while he was walking home with a bag of Skittles and a can of iced tea. And it became the #1 news story in the world in 2012. Um, I think that was when a lot of people started recognizing me, even though I had been doing the civil rights work for years. That was a big moment. And then obviously Michael Brown and Ferguson, that was another case, hands
Right.
up, don't shoot. And
Right.
so all of them are important, but I think those
Sure.
two made me become, I guess what they say is a household name.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Got it. So you are known as an unapologetic defender for Black life and Black liberty and Black humanity. So what does that mean to you?
It means I wake up every morning understanding what my mission is like in life is. I don't ever try to sugarcoat it. I give these speeches at these big universities and these corporations and so forth. And when they invite me to come and speak, I'm not going to change because the audience. I'm going to go in and I'm going to challenge them and say, we're better than this. I'm going to tell them that I try to make sure that America, when they talk about the Declaration of Independence, is not just rhetoric, that we actually believe the words when we say that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equally, that they're endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights, that amongst them are life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Well, that doesn't just mean white people, America. That means Black people too. That means brown people too. That means Native people too. That means Asian people too. That means members of the LGBTQ community too. It means all of us. And so every opportunity I get, I wake up and I go say, we're going to help America live up to its creed.
Love it. That's great, Ben. I love it. What was the best advice you were ever given?
It's so much.
Maybe some of the best advice. I know, I'm sure you got a lot of it.
Yeah. My mother obviously had a profound influence on me, her and my grandmother. My mother taught me when I was a little boy, she said, baby, life is hard. She would always say, life ain't fair. Life is hard. You make it fair by what you bring to the table. And if you don't bring anything to the table, don't expect anybody to let you sound at the table. And she said, when you get at the table, make sure you leave room for you to bring somebody else to the table. And that's very important to me. I remember when I graduated from Florida State University, because my mother always said, education is something to bring to the table, because if you get it up here, nobody can take it away from you. And I remember when I graduated and walked across the stage, one of the first things I said to my mother is, I'm bringing something to the table, Mama.
There you go. I love it. Love it. So I work at, I know we have a few minutes left. I want to ask one more question and then go into Henrietta, but I work at I'm an executive director during the day at a public housing authority. I'm actually, I'm a lawyer. I'm licensed in 3 states and I do lawyer stories too. So I want to let you know that my board just approved Juneteenth, which was left up as a day of observance, which was left up to the locality. The state left it up to the locality, and I brought it to the board, and we got it approved as a day of observance. It's very important. My housing authority wants to be like in the forefront and very progressive. So, tell us what I would love to hear from you, like what that day as a federal holiday now means to you.
No, it means that America is acknowledging Black Lives Matter, because obviously, as Frederick Douglass said, what does 4th of July mean to a slave? You got white men who have us in captivity talking about freedom and liberty for all, but yet we are chattel property and chains and shackles. And so Juneteenth was the date when all Blacks in America at least on paper legally, were acknowledged as free, that
Yep.
nobody owned us, and that we could not be, bought and sold as property. And, so it's a very special feeling when I explain to my 8-year-old daughter, Brooklyn, why we celebrate Juneteenth, because now she's seeing that, oh, it is important about our life experiences. America acknowledges that too.
So important. Thanks for that answer. So what's on your, so this week on your docket, it seems you have a very important case, a little bit different. It has, it's, so I just wanted to ask you about that real quick. Henrietta
Lacks.
Sorry. So I had it written down. It's not on the page I'm looking at, but Henrietta Lacks. So we're looking at genetic justice. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened there?
Certainly. It's a name that every American, everybody in the world should know. This Black woman, Henrietta Lacks, who at the age of 31 is this beautiful, Black, intelligent woman, even though history tries to suggest other. She went to Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland. She had cervical cancer.
Right.
And Johns Hopkins did not try to treat her. They used her, as they did many Black people, as a lab rat to do medical experimentation, which then was tantamount to medical racism.
Okay.
Because during those times, you had the Tuskegee experiment, you had the Alabama appendectomy, where they were lying to Black women, talking about they were doing operations for their health, and they were sterilizing them so they couldn't have children. And you had Black soldiers in World War II who they put in gas with faulty gas masks because they wanted to study the effects of the gas chamber on the human body. And when the Black soldiers complained and said, you're not doing this to the white soldiers, and this is killing us and causing our bodies to deteriorate, they court-martialed them and put them in prison. And so this was the era when they did this to Henrietta Lacks, put radioactive rods into her cervix and with radium injected into her body, and they took her cells out, stole them without her permission or her consent. And they tested this, as they had done others, to see if the cells could live outside the body.
Okay.
And to their utter surprise, miraculously, Henrietta Lacks, this Black woman, cells did not die, but they survived outside her body.
Right.
Even more miraculously, they regenerated. Every 24 hours, they will regenerate, then the other cells will regenerate. And it was just an incredible engagement for scientific advancement. Her cells will have been used for every modern advancement in medicine, whether it's polio vaccination, whether it's dealing with the PVN, with cancer research, with in vitro, with the COVID-19 vaccination. I mean, her cells are the cornerstone of modern medicine. And these pharmaceutical companies over the last 70 years have made billions upon billions of dollars.
Billions, yeah.
I mean, all of them.
Unjust enrichment, right?
Unjust enrichment, because her family, the estate of Henrietta Lacks, did not receive one red cent.
Right.
Even though everybody else have derived benefit from her sales, except her children and her family. And so I filed this landmark lawsuit along with attorney Chris Seeger and attorney Kim Parker to say that it's not just about simple justice, it's not just about social justice, but it's about genetic justice. This notion where justice can flow from one generation to the next. Because when you think about it, Henrietta Lacks cells are being, used to affect generations upon generations of people. And they have been sold, literally. All her cells, her genetic makeup are being sold today like chattel property. And her family is getting no compensation for it. Just like during slavery, Black people were sold as chattel property, and we got no benefit from it. That meant that chattel property is you and your children and your children's children will be owned by me. Whatever is reproduced from you is going to be owned by me. Well, that's the same thing they're doing with Henrietta Lacks cells. All the ones that regenerate, these companies will say, we own them. We have intellectual property rights over these cells. And you're saying, well, hold on. You get the rights above her family, her flesh and blood. And I'll make these two last points. You think about the theory, the legal maxim of unjust enrichment.
Yep.
Based on the principle that the wrongdoer does not get to benefit and continue to benefit for the wrongful act at the peril of the victim. Victim here being the estate of Lacks, because Henrietta Lacks' life matters and Black lives matter. And lastly, when you think about it, Ben, people who contributed greatly to American society, like Henry Ford.
Right.
His family gets to define his legacy, and they get to benefit from that legacy. They get to pass on the benefits of that legacy to their future generations of children yet unborn. Sure. Mary Kay Ash, you know, her family, they get to define her legacy, get the benefits of her legacy, and pass it on to their future generations. Why is it that this Black woman who has contributed so much to modern medicine, her family don't get to define her legacy? Everybody else get to talk about her legacy, and her family doesn't get to benefit from it. That's what we mean unjust enrichment, and that we have equity given to this family for the contributions of their mother. Because as Ron Lacks said, the grandson, the oldest grandson of Henrietta Lacks, and his father still living as well, her eldest son, he said, I'm sure my grandmother's up there in heaven looking down, and she is very proud of what her cells are doing to help so many people. And these companies are using it and for all this advancement, and they're making all this money. But he said, I'm sure she's saying, what about my children? What about my children?
Right. And I think that's very compelling. It's very interesting. It's very compelling. And I agree with your argument, 100%. So I hope that, we hope that the court sees it the same way, or the pharmaceutical companies, and they want to make everything, make it right? Make it right.
For Henrietta, let's finally make it right for Henrietta, because if you've ever got a vaccine or taken a vaccination shot, then all of us got a little Henrietta in us.
That's right. So that's right. I did. So I know I could keep you here for a long time. I know you're on, it's great talking to you. I'm having a lot of fun. Was it true that George Clinton from Parliament was in your fraternity?
He's my frat brother and my client, one of my best.
I love it. Great music. Great music.
Atomic Dog. Yeah, make my folk in the P-Funk.
That's it right there. So Ben, I'm gonna, I know we're short on time. I already went over. Is there anything else you want to say out there to the Lawyer Stories community?
Well, I'll just say this in conclusion, because I want the lawyers to always be inspired to uphold the law, and we swear oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States. My personal hero, Thurgood Marshall, said, on the 200-year anniversary of the signing of the United States Constitution in 1976. He said that the basis of the Constitution is simply this, that a Black baby born to a Black mother, the most uneducated Black mother, the inarticulate Black mother, the most impoverished Black mother, has the same exact rights as a white baby born to a white mother, the most educated white mother, the most articulate white mother, the most affluent white mother, just by virtue of that baby drawing its first breath as an American. Now, Justice Marshall said, I know that's not the case in America today, but I challenge anybody to say that's not a goal worth fighting for. I challenge anybody to say that's not what makes America the great beacon of hope and justice for all the world to marvel. So when we fight for the Trayvon Martins of the world, when we fight for the Breonna Taylors of the world, when we fight for the George Floyds of the world, and more importantly, when we fight for the unknown Trayvons, the unknown Breonnas, the unknown George Floyds, when we fight for whom my grandmother referred to using the biblical reference, the least of these, the people who have no voice. What we are really doing, brothers and sisters in the bar, is helping America live up to its creed. What we are doing is helping America be the great beacon of hope and justice for all the world to marvel. But what we are doing mostly, brothers and sisters, is helping America be America for all Americans.
That's it. Great quote. Love it. Ben Crump, thank you so much. It's just an honor to have you here. You know, it's great. It's great to finally connect after these years of lawyer stories and seeing you keep up the amazing work. You know, it's just what a future you have, and you've just done amazing things. I don't even know what to say.
We're in this together, brother. You keep doing amazing work. And as we said at the beginning of our conversation, as Dr. King said, we all have a role to play in this struggle for justice and equality for all of our children.
Thank you so much. And everybody out there, wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves. Cheers.